Hey guys, how's everything going? We are here in St. Louis, Missouri at the 2022 American Academy of Audiology Conference. I'm sitting here with Monal Shah. Monal Shah is the senior associate of corporate development at Alpaca Audiology. Monal, thanks for joining me today. And what we wanted to do today is kind of share some information. You guys have heard a lot of news about Alpaca recently, so they're a host, one of our sponsors at the Oddball Summit this year, so we wanted to make sure that we spread some information. So, Mona, before we get too deep in this, can you tell us a little bit about yourself first?
Absolutely, and thank you, Amit, for having us.
And by the way, that's how you say my name. He said it just right. So everyone that doesn't know, he'll say it again if you want.
Thank you, Amit, for having us. I am a senior associate of corporate development at Alpaca Audiology, which means I help reach out to and speak with folks who are considering a potential sale of their business and help them navigate the process. Alpaca is the largest and fastest growing network of audiology practices in the country. We are a 225 site practice. We are a part of Sonova's audiological care division, which means we do everything from hearing aids, over the counter, and everything in between.
Yeah, and that was some pretty big news. Like a lot of us didn't even know, and suddenly we got dropped this bomb a few weeks back, and that's you got to join with Sonova. What is that like? I mean, this Sonova's a very big corporation. So tell us about that news that we heard.
That's absolutely right, and that is the most recent news. But it's been a long ride getting here. We started out as a group of 13 clinics called Sound Advice Hearing Doctors in Springfield, Missouri. Very small, very focused on our immediate local markets. And we had a small buying group called Alpaca. Over the past 5 years, we've grown into our adjacent markets, so grown both in size of clinics and the folks that we've been able to serve. In the past couple of years, like everybody else in our industry, we too have faced the headwinds, if you will, over the counter, Medicare, third parties. And when we look at what's coming down the pipe, and we think about what's the best way to position ourselves to do what's right for our patients, for our people, and for us as a business, we were also looking for a partner to help us navigate this process. Mm-hmm. And we found a good partner in Sonova because of their size, the scope of what they do, everything soup to nuts. We thought that it would be a really good way for us to help continue treating our patients, help our providers continue to do what they love, mm-hmm. and essentially continue to play in the sandbox, whatever it may be.
Yeah. And you guys are still acquiring practices. I know that after the news came out, you actually called me, and I'm sure numerous calls were going on at over the span of weeks. But what I understood was that as you guys are growing and acquiring practices, nothing, or at least very minimal change, if no change. But can you tell us a little bit about the process of acquiring practices?
You're exactly right. We've had a successful strategy partnering with a lot of different people across our country and building a successful business. That's one of the main things that Sonova saw in us and wanted to help support and grow. Mm-hmm. So we always were and continue to be very bullish on our industry and want to continue reaching out to and meeting folks who are interested in potentially selling their business. So when we think about what goes into a successful business, or if somebody asks, what are we looking for? three things come to our mind. I'd say we really care about people, processes, and profits. We care about partnering with folks who enjoy what they're doing, have a really good reputation in their community, and we care about how any potential partnership will affect their people, how their employees will think of us. We think about processes. We talk to folks who have really strong businesses which are very much self-sustaining. They run on their own and they're well-oiled machines. We also get to work with and meet people who have really good businesses, and with some tweaks here and there, with some sharing of best practices here and there, there's a lot of room for growth. And that all translates into profitability. As a business, we care about the profitability of our clinics. And when someone has a well-oiled machine, it's already profitable on its own, and that's attractive to us. But when somebody has a practice which has the potential for growth, with some tweaks, with some sharing of best practices, that's also attractive because there's a potential for profits. So we're very, very much interested in everybody, in talking with everybody out there.
Yeah, and so back in 2017, I sold my practices, not to Alpaca, but I sold my practices. And I know the timeline. I know, people talk about when you buy a boat or if you buy a motorcycle, the two greatest days are the day you buy it, the day you sell it. But I think in audiology, the day you start your practice, you start the business, it's exciting. You're growing your practice. It's exciting throughout the process, but it's also very exciting and rewarding when you get to the end of the process. Now, when we sold my practices, there was a process and a timeline. It's not an overnight thing. It's not like, hey, to the buyer, here's a contract sheet, let's sign it and go on our way. Could you give us a little bit of an idea of what the process is like and what that timeline can be?
Of course. A typical acquisition process is probably a 5-month-long conversation. So over the first 2 months, it's very much introductory. We want to get to know you. We want you to be able to get to know us, ask us a lot of questions. There's a lot of data gathering at these initial stages. So we ask for financial information and operational information. So think things like profit and loss statements, employee payroll details, lease details. We take all of this information and we come back to you with an offer. Over the following 3 months of this 5-month timeline is really boils down to communication. It is an in-depth, like getting to know you, getting to know us. What we really want to make sure of is everybody is prepared and knows what's going on and what to expect. We share with you, our ways of doing things, what's been successful for us, but really we're interested in learning from you what's worked for you, what works in your local, how do you win your local community? How do we make sure that the legacy that you've built over the last 5, 20, 30 years, how do we do right by you and right by your patients? So it's really a 3-month timeline to get to know each other better, and so that we're prepared on day one, so that when the check hits your bank account, we're all working together. So from the time that we have an introductory conversation till the time that a check hits your bank account, you're probably looking at a 5-month process.
And I can tell you firsthand, at least from my experience, that it can be very frustrating, or at least appear to be very frustrating, especially on our side of the desk, because you want this thing moving and there's a lot of detail that buyers want. And I've gone through at least 20 of these, not on my own businesses, but with other audiologists and providers. And I know that the questions that the buyers need are very, very detailed, right? And especially when we're talking about money, and it's a lot of private information, but that's what a non-disclosure agreement's about. So buyers, and I would also assume same with Alpaca Audiology, is that they're not going to share that information with anybody. but the big question that a lot of people will ask through this process is, how are you going to value my practice? Like, how are you going to value my business that I've grown for so many years? Well, how do you do that?
Yeah, that's a $1 million question, and every practice is worth $1 million.
Perfect. All
that's
right.
No, it's. I mean, look, to be straight with you, it's like a patient walking into your clinic and asking you how much are a pair of hearing aids. The answer is it depends. Every patient is different. They have a different type of hearing loss, and you want to fit them with what's right for them. Similarly, we want to do our due diligence and gather a lot of information. So everything you can think of: financials, transition plan, the reputation in your community, the opportunity for growth. We look at all of those factors and come back to you with an offer.
Correct. And the numbers are important, of course, and keep your books clean and up to date, and I think that's very important. So I know that there are a lot of odd bosses who are out there who are kind of making plans now, even if it's not tomorrow, maybe a 2-year or 5-year plan. If somebody's interested, how can they get in touch with you?
The best way to reach us would be to email us at acquisitions@alpacaaudiology.com. That's acquisitions plural. We'll make sure that the link is posted in the video description below.
Absolutely. So I'm really happy that you get the time, because it's so busy here at AAA. So thanks for sitting down with me. Folks, if you guys are interested, I've known Mono now for a few months, but prior to meeting Mono, of course, I've known Brian for years. If you get a chance, talk to Brian about his story. It was very, very awesome, motivating story for all of us entrepreneurs out there. So, Mono, thank you so much for spending the time today. Folks, please reach out to acquisitions@alpacaaudiology.com, and we'll go from there. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Amit. Thank you, everyone.